Hello, everybody. How are you? It's so
Hey.
good to
Hi.
see you.
Everyone.
Yes, it's so good to see you. Wonderful. So look, here we are, six of us, English teachers, teachers in time of coronavirus, right? And I mean, we normally we see more of each other face to face. We work in different schools in our city, so we don't see each other physically very often either, right? But this is definitely a different configuration. So today, I just would like us to sort of, because we are all teacher leaders in our context, right? We are all teachers who have been supporting other fellow teachers with this going online movement. And I wanted to bring us together here to share our lives as teachers right now in this moment, and to let the world and other teachers know of what we have been doing, how we have been feeling, how we've been working, what's been working or not working, and just sort of have a nice conversation between us here and reach out to the larger community of educators around the world. So would anybody like to maybe share a little something? Let me see. We have even put together some prompts here. For example, what's something that has been working well for you guys? What has been working well? Tati, do you want to share your experience a little bit?
What is working well? Actually, is something that I haven't been feeling for a long time. I reconnected to teaching. I feel excited again, because things are new. For a long time, things have been the same thing, and teaching with technology was something I had, and I had my whole life to learn and to, go for it. And then suddenly, no, the future is now. I have to, even though I had been preparing myself, and I think more than many people, even though that, it's something really new, and I feel excited again. I'm feeling really excited again, and it's been a long time that I didn't feel as excited as I'm now. That's it. That's what I
That's
would
so
like to say,
interesting.
that it's interesting.
It's a new challenge, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Barbara, yeah. What about you? Tell
I
us.
was gonna say,
Yeah.
breakout rooms. I was just gonna say that.
Yes.
But then
Go ahead
Tachi
and
went
tell
so
us.
philosophical.
Go ahead. Go
No,
ahead
but
and say it.
I
What
think
about the
breakout
breakout room?
rooms, because the thing is, I noticed that I have the same dynamics with my students as I have in the classroom. They behave the same. They avoid doing the task the same way. They're eager to do the task the same way they are. Like they've kept their personalities. And then I have to work on the fact that I'm not feeling so well emotionally. It's a little, for me, I think I'm too sensitive. So I just,
Oh,
now and again, I get this angst. And then I look at them and I see that they're not that well. And I kind of have to talk about topics that could make them feel guilty. And I was struggling with that because I don't want to bring up negative feelings. And then
right.
some days they were not feeling that well. But then with the breakout room, something happens that doesn't happen in the classroom. I told them, the first class, I had a class about how you can learn English online, and I used the text from the book,
Okay.
Just, I never made it so that it was just about the situation. There was a text on the book about it, and we discussed, and I guided them to focus on the fact that you learn languages through building connections with people, through trust, through through just making yourself open to the opportunity and to the experience, to mistakes. And then like 2-3 classes later, I told them, look, when I put you in the breakout rooms, I cannot hear what you say. You're alone. You kind of like telling them that they had to self-regulate, and they're kids. They're like 12, 13.
Right, right.
But then I know, and then I had them, look, I want to trust you. And remember, we made the norms ourselves and we build the norms together. But when I would drop in, they were on task. And as I was
Right.
so ensured that they wouldn't be on task, I
Yeah.
had them like work with the leader. The leader would make a document. So I would, on one of the screens, I would see the document being written. So I saw that they were discussing something, that I would jump in to see their dynamics, if they were fighting or anything. So I would regulate the fighting, but they were working without me.
That's
Completely without me. And in
right.
the classroom, that probably happens in the classroom, that I'm just there and they don't pay attention to me anymore because they're involved.
Right.
But I hadn't noticed that.
That's awesome.
That
So
was
it's funny, right? The way
interesting to
it's
me, yeah.
sort of like our relationship with our expectations towards their ability to self-regulate and their
Yeah.
autonomy, right? And I've been hearing these stories around. I have heard other teachers, I think Talitha even shared a story the other day about how wonderful her students have been behaving and showing such maturity and autonomy. And I mean, this is something very, very, strong and powerful, I think. How we have been coming to terms with our fears. Kind of like, oh my God, now they're, it's on them. Are they going to deliver, right? Are we going to be able to? And then what happens to our role as teachers? What is it that this new role should entail, right? Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
And so the thing that didn't work was showing them videos or streaming any kind of material. So I had to resort on them producing something or using the last 20 minutes of the class for independent work. That's why I came up with that digital worksheet.
Okay.
And I was never that able to be so close to them as I was.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead, Marcelo.
Right. Marcelo,
So
yeah.
I was going to say about your digital worksheet. That was one of the things that has been working well for me. Trying out new tools and getting the response from the students. These are tools that I have wanted to try for a while, and when I tried them in class with the iPads, it didn't work as well as it did working in this situation. So using the Jamboard, for example, I brought in the iPads, I put them in pairs, I'd hand out the iPads, and it would just be a mess. But working with them through the Zoom and digitally, right? It worked beautifully. It was just like, I don't know what the difference was. It's the same tool, and just the different approach to it worked wonderfully. And this has happened to all of the tools that I have been trying to use. So tools that I had never used before, like the Actively Learn worksheet that Barbara shared.
Right.
It was fantastic. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching the statistics and they're doing it and I'm giving them feedback immediately and they're asking to revise their answers and they're fixing it. And they're looking up words in the dictionary thing there. And it was just, we spent 40 minutes working on that, silently almost. But I could see the work happening. And it was fantastic.
That's amazing.
So that's been working really well for me, testing out these new tools and learning about them too.
It's maybe Jamboard is working so well because that's the connection that they have. There's no other connection to their classmates or to you or to anything besides this entry point.
Right. And it's a place where they're working together. They can see each other.
Yeah.
On the dock, kind of like.
Yeah.
We did a collaborative doc thing on the very first day when we reconnected.
Yeah.
It was just so much fun. But I must say that Jamboard with 18 teenagers was, crazy for me. It was something
Oh,
that did
no.
not work at all. I had a few, yeah. I had a few teenagers who were sort of like scribbling all over it, and they were deleting each other's stuff, and they were just being, naughty. They were
Yeah.
teenagers.
Yeah.
But it was kind of fun. So interesting thing was I had to sort of think on my feet and then find a workaround. But I didn't miss the opportunity of saying, hey guys, come on, what's going on? I mean, if you don't do your part, how are we going to do this, right? So again, we go back to the topic of autonomy and self-regulation, right? Talita, I think you want to say something. Is it? Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Marcelo, I had never tried Jamboard before, and then you kind of mentioned it that it was working for your group, and I did try yesterday. It was amazing. It was the same thing. Like I could see them working. I did multiple pages, and they would jump in the pages and then comment on each other's work. We kind of did the sort of the chalk talk thinking routine with the Jamboard. It was amazing, and they loved it. The same thing as you. They were silent for a while, and it kind of bothered me for a bit. But then when I jumped in the Jamboard, they were working so hard that I didn't even feel guilty. I was like, yes, that's it. That's the connections are being made. So, and one of the things that has been working for me a lot, I think Tachi kind of said that related to the technology thing. I was slowly leading them into using Google Classroom because most of my students had never used it, and I was very firm about it. I said that we are going to use it. I can start slow, but we are going to use it. And then the first step of the way, I kind of started slow, and then everything happened, and I said, okay, so maybe not so slow. We're gonna have to jump into it, but come with me. And I was kind of sending them the links of everything I would do in class. So you go to this worksheet and you go to this slide, and it wasn't working so well. So because I had multiple devices that they were accessing Zoom on, and so stuff like that. So what I did is I scheduled everything that I will use, every link, every video, even the slides that I was using to present something. I would schedule to be uploaded to Google Classroom 20 minutes before my class, and then they knew that. So yesterday I had some students, because they were anxious about our guest speaker. I had some students that actually I could see them on my slides 15, 20 minutes before the class. So they were preparing for the class. I felt so proud. I had never felt so proud in my life. They were preparing for my class. And this has been working very well. So while I was teaching, I said, okay, so now we're going to go to the Jamboard. And then one of my students interrupted me and said, oh, this is the second link that we have on Google Classroom, right? I was like, yes. So it was very nice. And they are also kids. They're 13, 14. So I felt very proud of them.
That's amazing. And Talita, you mentioned there that you brought in an expert yesterday to be interviewed by your students, because we are doing a PBL approach, right, to one of our courses. So can you share just very quickly what their experience was like? Yeah.
So I was having trouble finding an expert to go to my class because my classes are at 2 p.m. So everybody's working at this time, and nobody can just jump into somebody else's classroom. And when we went online, I said, that's my time, because everybody has a computer and they have 20 minutes to spare. And then I invited a friend of mine who was working, but then he said, okay, but I have like 30 minutes to sit with your students. Mm-hmm. And then he interrupted his work, and he could jump into the classroom. My students, they prepared before the class as a homework. They watched the video, they prepared some questions, and then during class, they revised the questions, and they got into teams, and they could decide, they ranked the questions that they wanted to use within their team. So every student had 4 questions, and I wanted the team to have 4 questions. So then they kind of ranked it, and they said, oh, this one seems like it's not going to be repeated. This one is very unusual, so maybe we could use that one. And they took notes. And when the speaker came, they were so polite, and they were so professional. One of my kids, the youngest one, he's 12. he started his question by saying, "Good afternoon, Eduardo." And then he asked the question. Eduardo replied, and then he said, "Thank you," and he finished. He was they were very nice. And afterward, Eduardo said, "I was very impressed to how professional they were, at how well prepared they were, and they did it all by themselves, because the only thing I did was posting a video and asking for 4 questions. That's the only thing I did." It was very nice.
That's great. Oh, that was an amazing. When I read your message yesterday in our group, I was thrilled. I mean, we started out doing project-based learning in 4A right at the beginning of the year. Who would have known that we would have to pivot to the online environment in the middle of such a, challenging in itself. It is a challenge, right? Doing language teaching and language learning with project-based learning. So this has been amazing. I have been, very excited to see all of you guys flying so high with your students. This is amazing. Rachel, would you share with us a little bit of your experience?
This is what I like the most about this experience: teachers helping each other. I've seen where I've been working that people have started testing out new materials and new tech, and they always talk to each other and help each other out. And this is so wonderful to me because usually it was very hard to share technology at first. I don't know if you remember, people didn't like technology very much at Águas Claras.
Not anywhere, dear.
So right now, somebody comes up with something different for them to do in class, and everybody's super excited and they want to try it out too. And they ask me, but they also ask each other. So teachers are helping each other out. I'm not the only one that's the center of the technology
Vortex.
technology knowledge anymore.
Right.
And have you noticed how many lives we've had? We've had like, "Oh, I'm jumping in on Zoom right now to talk about this and that with my other, and then suddenly we have teachers creating their own workshops.
Yes, it's
I
so
know,
wonderful.
guys.
This
Right?
is amazing.
I
Like
know.
people I would never suspect were
And then I said, "Oh, I'm having
excited
a
now."
Zoom meeting to teach you guys about Zoom." I was like, "Oh my God, this is so
Yes.
wonderful."
Yes.
Rachel, this is actually something that worked very well for me during the transition, because we are kind of leading the teachers in this transition for the first weeks. And I had some teachers who were kind of freaking out, and we were all having a hard time handling quarantine and this whole situation around the world and isolation. So I had a lot of teachers who were having anxiety attacks and problems with dealing with that. And then when I would mention, I'm jumping on Zoom, do you wanna maybe join so I could show you some points and all that, they wouldn't want to do it because they were so resistant and they were so sure that Zoom was gonna work. And then I said, okay, so what about that? You invite 2 or 3 friends, you share this link, I will jump in with you, I will show you the features that I want to show you and leave. And then you can just like talking to your friends in an online meeting. And this worked so well. I did this like 3 times. And it worked so well. Even with they would share the link even with teachers even with people who weren't from Toma. Because then they would say, okay, I want to talk to my mom, I want to talk to somebody. And then this person would jump in the meeting. I would be like for 5 minutes, so this button does this button does this, and this button does that. Bye-bye, see you later, and leave. And this worked very well. And now this new thing, sharing over wine, is actually a thing for teachers because after hours, people are getting their wine glass and saying, I'm going to jump in on Zoom. Who wants to join? And we share things.
Isn't that great? I mean, new habits forming. I don't know. Might we be more connected? I don't know.
I hope
Are we
so.
more connected? But I'm sorry.
No, sorry. I hope that when this ends, people still, keep doing these things.
Yes.
I really hope so,
Yes.
because we won't have that problem of, oh, I can't at that time. I'm too busy at that time. That time is not good for me. Like,
Right.
come on,
Yeah.
anytime is a good time.
I know. That's amazing.
And you know what? I'm sorry, but something
Go
happened.
ahead.
It's very
Yeah.
funny. My students, they have like 3 classes before mine for the regular schools, and then they jump into my class.
Uh-huh.
So they're just like from 7 or 8 on till 12:30, and they were kind of like, oh, in our school we use Hangouts, we don't use Zoom. The other students don't like Zoom, but we love Zoom. Zoom is perfect. Zoom is great. It's like they're like team us.
Uh-huh.
And they started discussing the pros and cons of using Hangouts and using Zoom. And I was just
Oh,
there.
wow.
And they're very naive, and they're very they're really kids,
Right.
But they were like, our team, and it just, I felt emotional at the time.
I mean, in the just the thing of talking about this technology and that technology and the pros and the cons. I mean, what an interesting exercise.
They want to
right?
use all the features. When I bring up something new, I said, how did you do that? Can I do that for myself? Where do you click? Now I wouldn't use the chat. Why can't I use the chat? It's like, okay, guys.
Yeah. It's so interesting to see what the affordances of technology for supporting the connections, right? Because new different types of connections may occur, may happen, because there you can do it. You can write at the same time as doing something else. I don't know. It's interesting to see the students react to that new reality, right? This new digital reality. Thalita, yeah?
Yes. Talking about that, I was very anxious about my smaller students. I have 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds, and my groups were very big. I had 20 kids at the same time, or 18 kids at the same time. And then in my mind, I was battling about the idea of, shouldn't we just send them exercises for them to do at home? Or shouldn't I just record videos and then they would do it at home by themselves? And I was still leaving this moment as the class started. I was still in doubt of what I was doing. And then when we log in like 10 minutes before so that they had some time to adjust. And when I logged in, they started jumping in all at the same time. They were so thrilled. They were so happy. They, 2 of my kids actually teared up a little bit from seeing their friends. I was so emotional. And then the moms afterwards, they were saying, this was the best class ever, because in their regular school, they're just doing exercises. The same thing that I wanted to do. The teacher is just recording and then they do it, but they never see their friends. And their best friends are from school. They're 5. So when they saw their friends, sometimes I have to like sit back and let them interact, because
absolutely,
I can't just interrupt them. They're having so much fun. And one of my kids, his mom always says that he cries after class because he misses us so much.
Oh,
so
it's
a very big opportunity that we have, to be so privileged to be able to have them connect with the others as well.
Yeah. Wow. Absolutely. Yeah. Pachi.
I forgot I was going to say. I was so sorry. Okay.
So I can be moved by this, that what Thalita just said. Yeah. Pachi, yeah.
No, I was thinking of how much people have been helping each other. This is really something that we have already mentioned here, and it's very interesting how much people became aware of their knowledge of technology. It's something like where they stand in this line, in the bakery line,
Okay.
So, like I have friends who had been in this path with us, trying to learn, trying to become Google educators and these kind of things. And they came to me and they said, thank you very much for being with me all throughout this time. And now I feel ready. And then I had some friends that came to me, gosh, why didn't I hear you? Now I will have to run for it, I'm late. I didn't hear the starting gun, and some people like it like that. So I saw this two groups of people, people who had been walking, on this path, and people now I have to run, what do I do? That's it.
Yeah.
That's something that was really interesting to see
That's
the
been happening to me
awareness,
too.
Uh-huh.
the awareness coming.
Yeah, this
It's
awareness.
been happening to me too. I've been getting a lot of teachers coming up to me and say, "Oh, thank God I did those courses with you," and others saying, "Oh, I should have been there. When are you going to do them again?" And I'm just going,
We'll do it. We're going to be having lots of them.
Are you guys having the kind of in the middle teacher? Because I had some teachers who were very insecure about technology, even though they had been to the courses, and they would never use it. So they kind of knew how to, and they practiced with us, but they never used it. And they were like, no, it never works with me. No, it's always jamming. No, it's technology. Technology. You can trust technology. And then they would never use it. And then when they had to transition to the online teaching, they were like, well, it kind of works. And like, I kind of love it. And they kind of figure it out that they know.
Yeah, because now there's no choice, right? I mean, wow. Who would have known? It's crazy.
But what have you guys been doing regarding connectivity? Like the bandwidth never seems to be enough.
Right. Yeah,
I did
yeah.
a whole reorganizing of modem positionings and Wi-Fi routers here at home. I bought a small Intelbras mesh Wi-Fi, and I brought the modem from the living room to my room, so the computer is connected via wired to the modems.
Okay.
And I connected the modem to one of the Wi-Fi points here in my room, and it has the repeater in the living room, so that because we lost the internet in the living room, so it's a whole. But my computer is hardwired to the modem, so I get less dropped calls.
Right.
Still,
Okay.
Yeah, I realized that Rachel's going to say something.
I was going to say that I use my phone. I don't know if Thalita is going to say the same thing, but I go into my classes in two ways, in the computer and my phone. And I make myself a co-host. So if I am not there with the computer anymore because the internet's not working, I'm still there on a cell phone.
Right. I have actually done that a couple of times.
It has happened to me. The connection crashed, but it was, and I was only only one device. I'm not as smart as Rachel. I will learn how to do it, Rachel.
Nice tip, yeah.
Okay.
Nice tip.
Yes, all right. But I wasn't. But my students behave quite well, At first, it was on the second day of classes, and then at first I panicked. What do I do? And then I breathe in, calm down, Tatiana, you can do it. And then I turn it off, came back. When I came back, my students were all there waiting for me.
Wow.
They were all, teacher, what happened? Where were you?
I just have a mental picture of that happening in real life. Imagine like you're teaching and then you suddenly disappear. And then students are there just waiting. Oh, she's going to come back. And then you reappear in a different place. Oh, sorry, guys, I'm here temporarily. And then you come back.
I didn't.
Yes, Thalita.
I did not. I was. Rachel thought I was gonna say that. I was not gonna say that. It's genius logging in with two devices. When I saw my phone, I kind of mentioned because my connection is not good, and I don't know if you guys know, but I teach with another teacher in my house. Ugo is teaching here, my brother.
Right.
And it's the same time as I do. So we teach
Right.
at the same time. And both my
Wow.
parents live with me, and they're both home officing, and they do meetings all the time. So sometimes we have 4 meetings happening at the
Oh,
same time
God.
in
Oh, dear Lord.
so,
Yeah.
and then most of the time I would just connect with my phone's internet connection. So it doesn't work very well for me. I cry most of the time. I don't know
Oh,
when
wow.
I'm having your suggestions. I'm taking notes of your suggestions.
But you know, this,
Yes, Barbara.
I'm sorry. Clarissa, you talked about on your video about the place and how the place kind of drives the way you act. And I told you about that that artist called Ana Maria Tavares.
Yes.
It's like I bring her with me ever since I did my master's in, because my master's was about art in the place where we live and our connections. And I wrote a few lines, a few pages about her work. Basically, the one exhibition that I wrote about was when she got this mobiliário urbano, you know, this things like subway benches that that handle you used to hang on to in public transportation, and airplane seats. And you would go into the place inside a gallery room, and you would see those things. You wouldn't see artwork, you know.
Right.
You would see those things. And then, you know, what she talks about is how the places tell you how to behave. So you go inside a bus that you never entered before, but you know where you have to sit, and you know what you have to hang on to, and you know how you have to act, and you just do it automatically. You do no negotiations of any kind. You just act, because certain places and the configurations of the things inside the places, they tell you how to act. And then you were talking about how in the classroom kind of tells you how to act and to come back to life, right?
Right, right.
But here you have the students there in their own room, in a space of safe, in a safe environment. And so they can be emboldened to talk.
Right.
Because they're in a safe place. You know, I think, I was talking to Betsy yesterday, how like much like Talita's groups, her groups are getting very engaged and getting into debates without her having to guide them on. And I was thinking about that. It's because they're in a safe place, and there are no social anxieties about being in the proximity of other people.
Right.
I was talking to my therapist about that too. You know, like how Tatiana was saying in the beginning, like she feels more comfortable now. Like, I like this. I like being here because I guess I can really focus my energy into specific things, and I can take a break and go and if my mom wants a fruit, I can go and get her fruit, because she has to be inside. She can go outside, so I can do stuff for her. I can organize my work. I went to bed at 1 a.m. yesterday, but I was so excited, just working, developing a course for other teachers and reflecting, and then I just can't stop working. I guess it's not good, but you know, it just gives you that energy, that energy, and then I can balance my work life. I think that's what's exciting.
That's wonderful. So guys, listen, this has been great. We've been talking for half an hour, and I've been recording you. So I am now gonna finish this recording. But before we go, I'd like to invite each one of you to just leave us with a little thought for the next week. And then next Friday, we are gonna do this again. So who'd like to say something? If you want to share, you don't have to all go, just if you feel like sharing something before we go, just a goodbye message or something until next week.
As I said goodbye to my students, one of them kind of stayed with me for a while because he wasn't feeling so good, and he was trying to justify not doing his work because of that. And I said something to him that as I said, this is really true. I said, sweetie, nobody's doing very well.
Right.
Everybody's a little sad and a little worried all the time because this is a very weird situation, but we are all doing our best. And I believe that you are doing your best. So nobody's judging you. We're all here to support you. Okay. So do your best and we will do our best and everything will be all right. So that's kind of how I'm feeling about teaching. Nobody's here to judge you. Everybody's struggling. Just do your best.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Thalita. Wow. Yeah.
Just Marcelo, go.
No. I was just saying that was nice.
That was
Yeah.
nice. That was nice.
Tati, do you want to leave us a message before we go? Yeah.
Okay. It's just, I know that, as Thalita said, we are living in a situation where nobody's completely feeling 100% well. We are all worried. We are all scared a little bit of what's going to come. But somehow inside myself, I feel a little bit like Aladdin, a whole new world, a new fantastic point of view, and the future is here. And I'd like to thank Clarissa who pointed it to me 2 years ago, and then thank you for following, because I didn't say someone who gave me a hand, and that was you, Clara. Thank you. Okay.
Oh man, thank you for just
a whole
coming with
new
me on
world,
this crazy journey.
a new fantastic point of view. Let's go. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Rachel, hold Khaleesi to the camera, please.
Okay. We're gonna end our live today with Khaleesi on the screen. Yes.
Oh
And then
my
I'm gonna
God.
start recording. Okay, bring us Khaleesi. Is it
I
Khaleesi?
love
Khaleesi.
Oh, look at Khaleesi.
This is Khaleesi.
Oh my God.
Hi, Khaleesi.
I absolutely love it that we are getting to know each other's cats. Next week, I'm going to have my 2 cats here next to me, and I'll introduce you to them.
Okay. I will ask my
I don't know where they are
son
right
to
now.
come.
Yeah.
I will ask my son to come. Is the cat I have in here.
Okay.
Okay, that's the only cat I have is Henrique.
All right. Okay, well, guys, thank you so much for this. And I'll see you next Friday again, 9:30. Okay? Yes?
Okay.
Thank you so much. We are connected.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.